Well, hey, everybody. This is Scott Schimmel. I'm the co-host of the Dream Big podcast with Bob Goff and friends. And I'm here with Bob Goff, of course.
Hey, everybody. I hope it's been a terrific week. I'm just so glad we're together again.
Well, Bob, I remember a story when I was in college at USD. I got stuck in an elevator with a friend once. And you always want to check to see if that phone is there so you can call somebody. And so we decided to have a little fun with a little sweet lady at campus security who answered. Her name was Barbara. She's like 4'6". And we pretended like we were running out of oxygen, which she did not appreciate later when she sent like 4 fire trucks and paramedics.
Oh my God, what's the statute of limitations on that?
I hope it's more than 15 years. Not more than 15 years. Have you ever been stuck somewhere?
I've gotten stuck a couple places.
I'm sure you do with all your travel.
Actually, we got stuck in India once. We were actually trying to get some kids out of a really horrible place, and all the bad guys at that horrible place came and the mob swarmed us.
Oh my gosh.
We got stoned. Not like a high school version. We actually literally got stoned. And then we got thrown in jail.
Really?
That was a bad day. I've had some bad days. That was a particularly bad day. I had so many alternate endings for that day. And I think it just happens. It isn't something big and dramatic like that.
Yeah.
I've gotten stuck in grocery lines too.
Yeah.
So stuck is stuck.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is,
Right.
like it isn't graded on a curb. Just stuck means stuck.
Stuck in a conversation you want to get out of. Stuck
Yes,
in
you can always say,
relationship.
what do they say? They'll say, let me make a long story short.
Yeah, right.
Like,
and it's never,
that was the short version. I'm like, you're killing me. My clothes are going out of style.
Well, so many people tell us that they often get stuck in pursuing their big dreams, which makes sense. If it's big enough, of course, it's going to be overwhelming. Maybe you don't know what to do. Maybe you feel like you don't have what it takes. And so you get stuck. That's why I'm excited for you to have a conversation with our guest today to talk about some of those issues. How do you work getting out of being stuck?
Yeah, how do you get unstuck? And one of the things, if you're stuck in a car in the mud, what you do is give something to where you get a little traction.
Yeah, right.
And you can do that any number of ways, but it could be a board. You just use what's available to give yourself a little traction. The same applies in our lives. So understanding, first of all, that you're stuck, that is the difficult part. Sometimes what it feels like a routine, typical. It feels like yesterday was like today, and tomorrow will look a lot like today. And what you don't realize is you're actually stuck.
Yeah.
And so to say, how can I get some traction to get out of being stuck? And you have to have a reason. You have to be someplace you're going to.
Yeah.
Like what's an ambition that you're moving towards? And you can see, am I closing the distance or broadening it?
That's great.
You know, if you're not closing the distance, you're probably stuck.
Yeah. Well, in the spirit of you having eclectic friends today on the show, you've got Ben Higgins, the Bachelor. Yeah. How did you get to know Ben?
He actually gave me a rose.
Did he? Trimmed off the thorns, of course.
Ben and I became friends a couple years ago, and he was a guy that is known for one thing. And then as people dig down, he's actually such a beautiful, multifaceted person, as we all are. So I'm just so anxious for people to hear from Ben, who might have gotten some notoriety from being the Bachelor, but there's so much more to Ben, as there is to you. And so keeping with this idea of being stuck, some of us are stuck having people know this little elevator speech about you.
Yeah.
I wrote a book, you did a thing, something went great, something went bad. But you're known as this, and sometimes this insidious nature of being stuck, you could just have this like little 1 or 2 sentences of who you are, when God could not fill volumes of books about who you are. What we need to do is understand ourselves. Why do we do what we do? And that's part of getting traction in our life.
Well, buckle up, everybody, as Bob does his best rendition of Chris Harrison interviewing the Bachelor, Ben Higgins.
So, hey, Ben, thank you so much for joining us.
This is an honor for me. I'm a big fan of everything you do, so I am thrilled to be here.
Well, likewise, for the 3 people that don't know Ben Higgins, will you introduce yourself? Like, what are some of the things that you're about, and a couple of places that people may have connected with you along the way?
Yeah, definitely. My name is Ben. I'm from a small town in Indiana. I moved out to Denver, Colorado 6 years ago. And soon after moving out here, I had just came off of a little stint living in Peru. and I was living in Peru to find my identity, and it didn't work out for me. And so I moved to Denver to try to find my identity again, and it wasn't working out for me. And so finally, one of my good friends said, Ben, you look a little lost. You feel a little lost. How about you sign up for reality television? And I thought, well, yeah, that works. So I did it. And fast forward a little bit, people might best know me from being The Bachelor. I was The Bachelor on season 20. So it's been a few years ago now. But The Bachelor taught me 1,000 different things that I'm sure we'll talk about today. But one of the things it led me to is now starting a company called Generous International. And Generous International is a company that only exists to try to be a fundraising platform for organizations, social causes, nonprofits that are fighting human injustice. And so I hope one day, Bob, that I'll be best known for Generous and not as much for The Bachelor. But yeah, The Bachelor hasn't been all bad for me. I get to sit here and talk to you because of it.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we talk about in this framework we're calling Dream Big is how there's different opportunities that come your way as soon as you figure out an ambition. And I think this ambition about being not known for just one thing, but replacing that for being known for other things. Like I was a lawyer for 3 decades, and people knew me as a lawyer until I just decided, you know what, while I'm capable of being a lawyer, I actually want to be something different. And you just start on something else, and one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing. So you figure out an ambition, you look for an opportunity, and sometimes it means clearing the path. I wonder if among the things that will happen for you in your experiences, clearing the path to say, you knew me as the guy in season 20 of The Bachelor, but I'm going to actually kind of clear the path. I want you to know who I actually am. That's who I was. Who I am right now is this guy. So tell us about that. How do you clear the path to transition from one thing where you're widely known for to the next thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good question. And I think for me personally, in my experience, The Bachelor was really a huge transition point in my life. It went from me being somebody who, again, was trying to find their identity, who was a little bit lost, who just got out of college, who moved to Peru. That didn't work out like I wanted it to. And so then I become The Bachelor. And the interesting point of The Bachelor is you are celebrated for yourself. You are the highlight of the show. Everybody, it feels like, in the world watches this show, and it's all about you and your story. And so for me, there's an enormous amount of fame or attention that's drawn from this show immediately. You go from just being somebody that's, working a 9-to-5 job to somebody that's on the side of a building in New York. And so once the show was all done, or really why it was going on, if I wanted to pursue anything I was passionate about and do it in a way that was healthy and good for the world and also good for me, my biggest distraction that I personally had to kind of clear away was the expectation of others and the attention that I was garnering from everything else I was doing, to clear away the fame, to clear away everybody's attention so that I could pursue something for myself that I wanted to do and not what everybody else wanted me to do.
Isn't that interesting how people will know even as a listener, people will know of you for something you've done. It could be even something that didn't reflect well on you. Some people will get stuck in something that was a big public meltdown or a big private meltdown or whatever it is. But how do you get to be reknown? And I still want to stay away from this idea of rebranded, because branding's what cowboys do to cattle. What I want to do is say, how do you become the most current version of you? How did you navigate that? How did you clear the path from saying, I know this was a connection point that you have to me. Let me get you current right now with the man that I am.
Yeah. The show did it. It definitely kind of pigeonholed you and pushed you in a wall, and people know you as somebody that dated on television, but they don't know your full story, right? They don't know what makes me tick. A lot of times they didn't even know my faith, and my faith is the thing that makes me who I am and what I bounce my decisions off of, and what makes me joy-filled and excited every day. But then the show also brings on a platform. It's interesting that this reality television show, for good or bad, gives you more legitimacy to the public after the fact than before. It felt like people wanted to listen to my voice, wanted to hear what I had to say. So then I go, and this has become such a piece of my identity, reality television did. Now it's afterwards. And the pursuit that I'm trying to tackle is fight human injustice. So the best way that I've seen to do that is to be consistently consistent in what I want to accomplish and what I want to pursue. Because what happens is over time, if you dig into something with a purpose and a passion, people can recognize that. And if you do it consistently enough, I think the way people view you does start to change, because you don't talk about your reality television experiences all the time. You don't talk about the fame you're trying to gain or the people you're trying to date or the things you're trying to accomplish. You talk about what you're about. And for me, that was, I want to fight human injustice. I want to alleviate poverty in some of these specific regions. And after a while, people just understand that, they feel it. And then, it isn't a great word to use, but it does become your brand. It does become what people recognize you for.
You get current with people. You could say, I have certain abilities, I have certain things that you're known for, but it's almost like a pivot to say, what do you want to be remembered for? Because everybody is known for their opinions, but will be remembered for the way that we love people. And if you say what your ambition is, let's say if you're listening and faith is a big ambition for you, that's terrific. So now drill down on it to say, that's great. I want to be more transparent to God. I want to be more available to people. To say, okay, so how are we going to do that? I decided to put my cell phone number in the back of a couple million books. Somebody else, that may be a bad idea for them, but find the way to get a little bit further down that hole to say, who is it that you want to be and what are the next steps? And so people get synced up with the current version of you. What is it that you're dreaming about? And the whole idea of letting people know your ambition. Like, I bet everybody you talk to, you say, I've got this beautiful ambition to help people as they're fighting injustices. And I can raise awareness because I have the opportunity to access a lot of people. We can just shape the conversations. That's where they'll end up. I love that you're clear on that. And what would you say to people who aren't clear on what their next step should be? They aren't clear about how do you clear the path? How do you get away from old you and get people current on the most forward-looking version of you?
Yeah. And, Bob, it's for me, there's a few ways that I've found my passion. And I believe that once you find your passion, you'll have purpose in it. And then that clears out the pursuit. And the pursuit, then once you have passion and purpose, the pursuit doesn't necessarily get easier, but it becomes clear. And so for me, when I go around and I talk, it's came down to a few things. And really it's this simple. Find out what makes you the angriest in this world. Typically in my world, it was, I don't like to see people in poverty. And honestly, I say that. And oftentimes I get the response of, oh, that's so good of you. It's not, it's a very selfish ambition. I get a lot of joy after seeing people's lives get a little bit better. I feel less burdened myself. I don't know why God created me that way. I don't know why the burden of poverty was laid on my chest and I just hated it. But when I work to try to accomplish it, I just feel a little bit better about myself. But with all that being said, if you find out what makes you angriest and you stand up and start attacking it, I think the pursuit gets clearer. I think the path gets clear because now all the distractions, all the things like whatever their distractions are, if it's, we want to blame all these things like technology or finances or family and friends, all these distractions, they become a piece of the story, but they don't become the pursuit that you're attacking. And once that pursuit is clear, you can start stepping forward and staying, we like to say at Generous, you stay in your lane, right? There's 1,000 things out there that we could be angry about. But once you stay in your lane and you stay on that path, everything else seems to kind of go away. Those distractions don't seem as important because you know what you're going after.
Yeah, if you have clarity in what you want, I say I want to eliminate poverty. And then you keep that right in front of you. So if someone else comes and says, do you want to go do these things? Say the answer immediately, I think we're wired the same that way, Ben. I love saying yes, but to remind myself, why am I doing what I'm doing? And then when something comes along, it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just different than what you're aiming for. And I'm surrounding myself with people who I've told this is my ambition. And then if I come up with something else, they'll say, it sounds like a distraction. If you have a new ambition, then let's talk about that. But if it's the old ambition, that sounds like a distraction.
And you're touching on something that's pretty, is a sensitive place in my life, because I'm getting ready to turn 30 next week, Bob. And in my 20s, it felt like a time where I was almost like a pinball. I was bouncing off of everything, and there would be something new and shiny on this side. And I say, yeah, I want to go to do that too. And yes, I want to do that too. And what I realized, that not only was it a little bit exhausting, but at some level, it was also, in not a bad way, a little bit fulfilling, because I felt so connected to so many different things. The issue became at some point when there's so many different things started to distract me from all of them. It started to become such a whirlwind of items that I wanted to accomplish, or things I wanted to be involved in, or people I wanted to meet and see, and those things that I became very surface level. Everything was just a check mark and getting something off the box. And I no longer felt like I was in depth or at a deep level with any of the ambitions that I was attacking. And that's where it became a problem. That's when I realized that I personally had distractions in my life, is when I didn't feel connected to anything.
Yeah, there's that saying in the South, a spread a mile wide and an inch deep. And if you're Scott Hamilton and ice skate and it's frozen, an inch deep is awesome. But if you're like a high diver, not so much. So to figure out, how did God wire you? That's the beauty of, like, say, the Enneagram, some other personality profiling that's out there, to understand, how did God wire me from the factory? And then to live into that. You have certain capabilities. The thing about ambitions is that nobody gives you a rose when you achieve it. You don't get, you're not like the big winner. But one of the things is that achieving the ambition is the reward in itself, and finding these opportunities along the way that I bet you found so many times that one thing will lead to another thing. So if somebody asks you, how did you get there? I would say, it's probably a dozen good decisions and 24 bad ones kind of actually got me here. And I've learned that there's certain things that have been so laden with purpose that they kind of just suck you along in the vortex. You get in that lane with people that are moving in that direction, beautiful things will happen. And there's the other things that are distractions, where you get caught in an eddy. I brought my son, Richard, with me to the Nile River. And we wanted to go down these class 5 rapids. And there's no class 6, you're just dead. And so it was a great idea until we got into the rapids. And Richard launches out of this boat. And we get stuck in an eddy at the bottom of this huge, cascading ball of water. And Richard is gone for 45 minutes. We don't even know where he is. And I'm thinking, what am I going to tell his mom? I thought he was with you. Let's make another one. But one of the things that happened is that we got our oars out, and we got back in the fast moving water. And I think clearing the path sometimes is, if you feel like you're in an eddy with your job or your career or your relationships, I would say go a little deeper, get the oars back in the water, and get back into the fast moving currents. Quit playing it safe, because I think the idea of playing it safe sometimes keeps us away from our beautiful ambitions. When's a time that you haven't played it safe recently, when you said, I'm just going for it? I know it's nuts. I'm willing to be misunderstood.
Yeah. And Bob, if you don't mind, I want to pause for a second to ask you a question, because this question was brought up to me at an event I spoke at a month ago. And so I agree with you. That was my advice too, was not to play it safe. Jump back in and just keep going, because ultimately life's moving forward with or without you. Here's the question that was brought to me, and I don't know how to answer it, is, when do we stop to celebrate? So if we have this ambition and we have this goal in front of us, and we're exhausting ourselves at times, and oftentimes we're not, to attack this ambition, if we just keep moving in the water, if we just keep flowing forward as fast as we can, at what level do we stop to appreciate and celebrate the ride that we're on? And I don't know how to answer it. And as you say that, I totally agree. I just don't know when we stop.
I know one of the cadences we have just with the team I have around me, we stopped just, I think it was Friday or Thursday. We said, these are the 4 things that we set out to do. And let me just give you an update on where we're at on those 4 things. These are the things that are happening. We're headed for Afghanistan again next week. We're doing this. It's great to just get your team together to say, these are the 4 things that we set out to do. We put them on the wall, say, these are the 4 things with lots of subparts. And here's a quick update, just so we can actually high five each other. To say, we're about a third of the way into this year. We feel like we've been at it for much longer than that, but to pause. And so I'm right back to having clarity on what you want. And so at some point, whether it emerges over time, but to write it down, to say, this is what I want. And to we talk about them, we have names. These are the 4 rivers that we're rafting on, right? And to say, river number 1, let me tell you, let's just see how the water level is. River number 2. And you can pick these rivers, like they can include, like, to have family time. My cadence is to spend 9 months a year, Mach 5, hair on fire, just all gas, no break. And then 3 months out of the year, I just disappear with my family. We go up to Canada, we just chill out. We're off the grid, we make our electricity, we grow our food. We're just off the grid. What's a cadence for you? What's a kind of a time to pause, if you have one at all?
Yeah, I don't right now. And that's such a good lesson for me to hear. And I think it's a great lesson, Bob, for people my age and people older and younger than me to hear too, is to make a cadence, to not feel like you have to go all the time. And, I spend, one of my favorite things to do, I own a tobacco pipe that I've had since college. And I love to turn off all the lights in my house. And I play music. I play some easy listening music and I pray. And I took on this pipe and I really don't do much else. And what happens for me is my mind goes away and I feel like God speaks to me in those moments. But I think it seems like in kind of the times we're in, if we're talking distractions, people always have something next and there's always something coming up and you feel the pressure of accomplishing everything that comes through your lens. And that's difficult and it's not fun. And so one of the things, if you asked me a little bit ago, what's one of the ways that I've risked or jumped in here recently, and it is setting my calendar, setting weeks completely free of nothing else. And that is a really scary idea to me, Bob. It's terrifying in a sense, because what's going to happen in those weeks that I'm not doing anything, or those weeks that I am resting and investing in my friendships and my family and the relationships around me, because I'll actually have to do it. And that, it doesn't seem like something scary to maybe most. To me, it's frightening.
Isn't that interesting? You find the things that scare you the most, figure out why. What is it about that? What's the thing underneath the thing? And then to imagine the beauty that might come of just sitting and smoking your pipe. I've got a friend that for a year, he was going through a difficult time, and we had the same pipes, and we got bubbles. Remember when you're a kid and you have bubbles that you blow in, but you blow the smoke into the bubble? Have you tried that yet? Oh, it'll change your life, because all the smoke gets captured in the bubble and then it floats and then it pops. Everybody listening, do this. Blow your mind. But there's something that was so restorative in that, because it wasn't just being in proximity to each other. It was to actually be present. And I think you don't need to take 3 months off. You could take 3 minutes and just be actually present with somebody. Oftentimes when I'm speaking to somebody, I'll put my hand on their shoulder. And it's not because I'm a touchy-feely guy, just but in a larger group of people, I want the person to know I'm just talking to you. I'm not looking over your head at the next person. It's just me and you. And there's something beautiful about kind of in the South, that idea of being where your feet are. I want to be just really present with people. And you can do this. You don't have to say, well, I don't have 3 months to spend. But I go like, dude, I've got 3 minutes right now. It's me and you. And that's what I think I've enjoyed with our conversations, that we could actually be present with each other and talk about things that matter, and just say, I'm not going to, while I'm hoping to be the next guy, I'm not rushing that. What I have is a lot of ambitions, and I've got clarity on what those ambitions are, and I'm looking for opportunities to go after those if they come by. I'm not trying to force it, but when those opportunities come by, I'm trying to net them like butterflies, because otherwise they just float away. They're beautiful. They're not yours anymore. And once you find that, to kind of clear the path and say, what's the stuff that's been holding me back? And for you, it sounds like one of those was to just go flying a mile a minute and to just have a little bit of time to pump the brakes. How would you do that just as a practical matter? Do you literally draw a line through a calendar?
I book it out. I have an amazing coordinator and assistant, and what I do is I just send it out and I say, no, this is a free week, and she celebrates that for me. It's actually terrific. She's so excited when I do that. But it is, as a practical, that's what I do. And then I'll send a text out to most of my friends, letting them know, hey, this is a week I'm doing nothing, and I hope you're okay with that. So please don't call me to show up to a meeting this week. And they all are very respectful of that. Actually, I think most people are surprised that somebody today can still do that, which is a habit I'd like to get into.
One thing that helped me to be really present, I have some people that help me out, and they only tell me what I'm doing today, tomorrow, and the next day. Isn't that beautiful to be like, I'm not thinking about what I'm doing a week or 2 weeks from now. It's like today, it's like me and you, Ben. Tomorrow, I haven't even looked at, and the next day, I haven't even thought about. but that's the horizon. And if for other people, that would be a disaster. They need to see the year. So find out the way God wired you, and then build in these little circuit breakers that'll help you get there. What do you do, Ben, when you're misunderstood? Because that happens to me all the time. When you talk about clearing the path, I write books, and the people in faith communities seem to enjoy them, but I don't put any Bible verses in it. Because I know I'm not trying to write to the guy that's in his second year of seminary. I want to write to the guy at the tire store that has fell far away from God. And I just want him or her to know you are so welcome. But I'm not trying to tell people what to believe. I think God does that. I think what we do is let everybody know they're invited. How about you? I get misunderstood for that. People think, well, you should do more of this, more of that. And I just don't give any thought to that. I just know who I'm writing to. How about you? When you get misunderstood, what happens to you?
Yeah, the most of the people that are my audience, or the people that have watched or been around, are more of a secular audience. It's we have different things. A lot of your following are people coming from faith or interested in it, and then now they read your books and they go, all right, this actually reaches out to everybody. For me, a lot of people that watch the show or watch The Bachelor, who follow me in my life, don't have maybe a faith background. And so instead of spending my time, Bob, constantly trying to explain myself or to clarify, what I try to do is allow people in. So I've, I guess, combated being misunderstood by trying to be insanely vulnerable, by not really hiding anything about me, crying when I need to cry, sharing those moments that you need to share with friends or family or just fans at an event. Is if I believe that if I'm incredibly vulnerable, that people are going to see me for who I am at a higher level, and then they'll want to dig in more as well. We're always going to be misunderstood, and in a world where we have a lot of 1 minute conversations, which aren't all bad, there's a lot still going to be there that's hidden. You're not going to get it all out. And so for me, I walk into each conversation, really each day now, with my prayer being, I want to be as vulnerable as possible, no matter what that looks like at every level. And typically, I think people respond fairly well to that. They aren't threatened by anything I'm doing, and they're also intrigued by the things that I believe in, because they see that it's real.
One of the things that we can each bring to each conversation, we got to kind of set the rules by being authentic, being vulnerable, and then being really present. That would be 3 things I'd hope that people could take away from this. And the conversations that I've had with you, they've been authentic ones. And one of the things that I hope will be the things that we're remembered for. It wouldn't be accomplishments, but that we were actually good friends. We were actually present with one another. So thank you so much, Ben, for spending a couple minutes. There's like a couple hours more I want to talk to you about, and we're actually going to do that. We're going to get into some more mischief soon. I want you to come and go do either a trip or something. We're going to end up at the same place soon. But thank you for loving people well. And I love that you're pursuing your passions. And Amanda, what if people wanted to get more information about what you're doing? Where would they tie into?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I want to take a second too, Bob, and just say, in this world where I said it, reality television and The Bachelor is maybe not what people would associate with somebody from faith or somebody that be accepted into your circle. And I really do. I love you for who you are and who you were to me 6 years ago, and then who you were to me now after this crazy experience, and that you still, for all this being said, you still accepted me in. You cleared the path to allowing me to be your friend, and then you allow me just to be myself to you. So I appreciate that. And I think for me, remembering you, or when I get ready to talk to you, I get excited because I know that it's going to be a moment that you care about as well. And you didn't have to care about me, especially from the background that I come from. And so, Bob, I appreciate that. And then, yeah, if you want to follow me, Higgins.ben on Instagram, or go to generouscoffee.com. That's really the way that right now I'm inviting people to kind of get involved in the story. It is a community of people just totally sold out on trying to do something good for the world. And I'm so pumped about it. We have over 150 people actively involved in this organization from a volunteer level. And we are fighting to just bring communities of people together with a common purpose. And that is to love people well. So yeah, Bob, I appreciate you. I love you. And I thank you for everything you're doing.
Thanks, Ben. Love you too. Have a great day.
Appreciate it.
I'll see you.
See ya.
Well, Ben is not just a dreamy bachelor on a show. He's a really deep guy with a lot of wise thoughts.
Yeah, and as with all of you that are listening to the show, there's so many different layers to you. There's the surface layer that everybody will know. There's the thing that you're known for, but then there's the thing that you're all about. And what I want to be about is helping people if they have an ambition. How can we get there? And I hope if there's something that you've heard from Ben or one of the other guests that resonates with you, say like, what's my next step? How do I take something I've been thinking about? If there's something that pinged you, what's my next step? Don't just agree. That's like that won't get you anywhere. But to say, I resonate with that, and now what that does is it makes me want to do this. So write that down. Write it on your arm. Write it on the arm of the person next to you. You'll have a new thing to talk about. But to take some action on that, roll out these dreams and ambitions that I think are so complex that some of us have been afraid to actually dig in. Boy, you've got your life. Like dig in. Don't take all the steps, just the next one.
Well, he asked this great question. What do you do when other people put you in a box? Sometimes we get stuck by how people see us in the box that they put us in. I remember years ago trying to get out of this perception that I was just this sarcastic, funny dude. I wanted people to know I have a heart. I really care about deep things. Or I remember professionally, people saw me as this very steady Eddie manager. But deep down, I felt like, no, I'm an entrepreneur. I like to start things. So what is it about other people's perceptions that can help us feel like we can't get out of what they think?
Yeah, don't be typecast. Whoever it was, the actor in Dumb and Dumber, then became the actor in Newsroom.
That's right.
And he's a guy that changed roles. Instead of being this goofy sidekick, he actually became this leading actor. And I would say, take your rightful place. If you're listening and you feel like people have misunderstood you, they know you in one way. Like I'm Bob Goff, like the fun balloon, go for it guy. And indeed, that's authentic. I'm a fun, happy guy. But there's actually some other sides to me. And I hope in this podcast that we have enough of these conversations, we could get real enough to say, Bob, the really insecure guy, the guy that actually is so scared of rejection. Like I just don't like that is kryptonite, like just rejection. And it's not, but Bob isn't looking for validation. I'm not looking for applause, but don't give me rejection. I think if we could understand, instead of feel like we're trying out for a part that we already have, you've got the part. It's go be you. You want to do something awesome for God, go be you. Now let's tease out who you are and what makes you react and respond. What do you need to clear the path on so you can get about the important thing of building that rocket ship that's supposed to be your life?
Well, it's a balance, right, of thinking through the voices in your life that are the important voices, the ones who tell you the truth. But the most important voice is your own, how you hear yourself think about yourself.
Man, and sometimes our voices can really mess with us because what we're doing is channeling other voices in our life, people that said you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not whatever enough. And to say it isn't the self-help, just a bunch of like, positive affirmations on a mirror. And that has a place, I suppose. But to just be accurate about where am I? When you walk into a big shopping center, there's an X and it says, this is where you are. And that's just so clarifying for me. I'm like, now I get it.
Now we know.
And if you could do the work it takes to find out where the X is, this is where I am, and then set a course towards this direction. This is where I'd like to move with some of my ambitions. Now we got a ball game. But you need to be willing to do the work that'll help you locate where you actually are. Where are you in your faith? Where are you in your relationships? Where are you with your dealing with your failures, with your limitations? And then to say, I'm not going to let those things define me. What I'm going to do is let them more accurately give me some dead reckoning on where I am headed and how I get there from where I am.
Well, in that spirit, this month we've got a giveaway for you, a guided journaling handbook. It's a workbook to help you figure out where your X is, where you are, the voices in your head that are keeping you stuck. And so it just is as simple as downloading that from the show notes, printing it out, keep it on your laptop, go into a coffee shop, and then sitting down with a friend whose voice you can trust to tell you the truth. The last thing, Bob, you had this conversation with Ben about the old me versus the new me. So who's Bob Goff in 5 years?
Oh, well, I hope I have dozens of grandchildren. I got one, but there's room for more. Yes, if you're listening, children, make people. One of the things that I think 5 years from now, I'll be about 65, and I hope to be spending less time away and more time actually present. And I hope that where I spend the most time is probably with just the family. And we'll have some time to have conversations like this and podcasts. And if I can still spell cat, I might write a book or two. But I'm going to actually, hopefully, I'll just be more and more self-aware, more available to these grandkids that'll be coming up. I want them to start dreaming some dreams. I've been learning how to fly a hot air balloon. I'm having so much fun. Here's the thing about hot air balloons. You never know where they're going to land. So you need to be nice because you might have landed in somebody's backyard. And so one of the things I hope is to instill some of that in a culture that's pushing back or minimizing the value of just being nice. They think that's like kind of a lesser version. I think being nice is kind of the pinnacle of make it nice, not just so that you get a grin out of people, but it's the culmination of everything you're hoping for, like contagious optimism, anticipation for what could happen. And that just translates to people, he's a nice guy. And I'm super down with that. So 5 years from now, hope I'm a nice guy.
That's good. Well, we will not put you in a box no matter what along the way. So thanks everybody for listening in to this episode. Stay tuned for more episodes and a new theme coming up next month. Hey, a quick message to college students and recent grads. You know this, but life is short, and there's no better time to declare the big ambitions you have for your life than right now, before you start heading down a path that makes it difficult to change directions. That's why we created this unique program especially designed for you, and it's called Dream Big Taking Off. It's fully digital, fully interactive with Bob as your guide. So in the spirit of graduation season, we're opening up the digital course this month only, for the month of June. So if you could benefit from Bob as your guide to defining, declaring, and launching your big dreams right now, then this course is for you. By the way, this would also make a great gift to a young person in your life too. So just go to the website, dreambigframework.com, and click on the Taking Off tab. That's dreambigframework.com, Taking Off.